good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are in the world. You know it is. Let me grab this microphone. This is JJ on JJ's PC Builds. Um, Today, or tonight, we'll try to get this video out as soon as I can. Sorry it's running a little bit late, but we're going to try to get it out anyway. And the thing is, too, what we're going to be talking about is going to be the 4060. The Nvidia RTX 4060. That's going to be our focus for this journey. So I'm going to take you all along on this journey with me. So this way you all can see what I see, and there's going to be no jump cuts or anything else. All I'm going to do is add to the video. So let's go ahead and just take it right along and see where this journey is going to lead us. So don't go anywhere. Don't touch your dial. We got more coming up. We're going to switch screens right now, and I want y'all to follow along with me on this, because this is going to be important when it comes to you wanting to buy a GPU. Now we're going to switch over to the action screen. See, for some reason the background's red, so I got to fix that, but what we're going to do is we're going to take and type in RTX, right, 4060, and see where this leads us. Alrighty, let's see if Nvidia's got something out that we can use. So we're going to take a look at Nvidia's website, and we're going to get a big white screen. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Let's kind of pull this around a little bit so y'all can see it a little bit better. We don't need all that extra up in there. We don't need all that extra down in there. There, that works. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm just wanting y'all to follow along with me. Okay, this is the GeForce RTX 4060. Family beyond fast. This is what Nvidia is claiming. This is what Nvidia is claiming. Okay, now let's scroll down and see what we can find. You know, I always like doing this. I always like taking you guys along with me, because this is very important when you go to buy GPUs. Let's say there's not many GPUs out there to buy, but you have no other choice but to buy a brand new one. So guess what? Excuse me. We can go ahead and just, steer you in this direction, but something tells me that when this one drops, it's gonna kind of drop you all into a different fashion, if you understand what I mean. So as we go along, we want to see performance right here. We want to see a little bit of the performance. Let me get this out of the way. Okay, now this is showing DLSS performance and ray tracing and plain Jane underwear. Okay, now this is showing the 4060 Ti, but we're going to go over here to the 4060. The RTX 4060. This is where our focus is on. Okay, so looking at the RTX 4060, it is showing us that it's getting 1.25x on Call of Duty. It's getting like 2x plus on Flight Simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator. Forza Horizon 5, it's getting 5.7, 5 or 1.5, 1.8. My bad, I kind of looked at it wrong. Witcher 3, the Wild Hunt, it looks like it's getting almost close to 2x, and the Portal with RTX looks like it's doing over 2x plus. Blender, it looks like it's doing about 1.3, 1.4% higher. And Autodesk Arnold looks like it's doing 1.6, 1.7%. But Blender and Autodesk are not using no DLSS or ray tracing. But the Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2 using DLSS, the Microsoft Flight Simulator using DLSS, Forza Horizon 5 using DLSS plus ray tracing, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt using DLSS plus ray tracing, and the Portal with RTX is using DLSS plus ray tracing. Okay, now do this. Take all that away and watch the numbers come down to where you got the base level. Okay, do understand that, there is a base level and there's a boost level. Okay, so basically your performance, it's not too bad, but, it's not that great neither on performance. Now, power consumption, lower is better. It looks like the 4060 Ti is in the green. It looks like it is doing, like right here, it's like doing almost 0.60% relative power. And on the average gaming, it looks like the RTX 4070. Okay, we changed it over. RTX 4070 right here is doing a bit less than the 3060 12 gigabyte. Okay, so not too bad in power consumption. It could be a little bit better because I know the RTX 4070, how much that pulls. Okay, now as far as the gaming, let's have a little sneak peek of the gaming. Looks like it's going from 4950 to 120, 130. Wanted y'all to get that little action in there, that little action screen. So that right there looks like it says the RTX 4060 Ti. Okay. Now, my question would be is why would they be running the 4060 Ti on this? And where's the one for the 4060? That'll be something I'll look for y'all. We're looking through Nvidia website to see what's going on. Okay, the creative side, the studios, the encoder, the broadcast, Omniverse, Kavanas, this is going to be an interesting card. I'm not going to knock the card because for the simple fact it's not out yet, but it could be coming out soon. So let's get to the juice of it all. Let's look at the specs. Now the GeForce RTX 4060 has 3072 CUDA cores. It has a boost clock of 2.46 gigahertz. It's got a memory size of 8 gigabytes and it's GDDR6. Okay, but I think y'all want to see the full specs on this, so let's go ahead and just dive right into that. Okay, so we're looking at a 128-bit memory bus. Ray tracing cores are 3rd generation. Tensor cores are 4th generation. It's 88 Lovelace. DLSS, it's equipped for DLSS 3. Nvidia Reflex, Nvidia Broadcast. PCIe, it's a PCIe Gen 4 system. It'll accept resizable bar. It will take the GeForce experience, if you put the program in. Nvidia Ensol, it'll do that. Freestyle, Shadow Play, Highlights, G-Sync, the Ready drivers, the Studio drivers, Omniverse, DirectX 12 Ultimate, the GPU boost. It's not SLI ready, but going into it, it does Vulkan RT API and OpenGL 4.6. Not too bad. It's got NVEC coding for 8th generation, and it's got NVEC coding for 5th generation. It supports AV1 encode and decode, and CUDA capability is 8.9, VR ready, yes. Not too bad so far. It'll 4K at the maximum display resolution. Now, this is 4K at 240 hertz or 8K at 60 hertz with DSC. Now, the HDMI, it's HDMI, it's got an HDMI and 3 display ports. So, one HDMI and 3 display ports, up to 4 ports. So, it does support HDCP, and the length and all that varies. The slots, it's 2 slots. That's the size of the card, just to let you know. It'll take up 2 slots. Maximum GPU temperature looks like 90C. Idle power looks like 7 watts. Video playback power is at 11 watts. Average game power is at 110 watts. Total graphics power is 115 watts. Required system power, you're going to need, they're saying you need a 550 watt PSU or greater. Okay, so that's what they're claiming. And the supplementary power connectors is one PCIe 8-pin cable, adapter in the box, or 300 watts or greater PCIe Gen 5 cable. Certain manufacturer models may use one PCIe 6-pin cable or a 1X PCIe 8-pin cable. So that gives you good little specs. Now we got all the little specs on the RTX 4060. So now let's look at the price. Now, if you're looking for the RTX 4060, it's going to be $300. Just to let you know, it's going to be $300, and it's coming June 29th. They moved up the date. They moved up the date to the 29th of June. So do be aware it is coming out, but that's still, you still got one more that's going to be coming out, and I think that's the 4060 Ti, the 16 gigabyte version. So you still got that one coming up. Hopefully they don't change their minds, but they give you the places where you can go and shop at them. So, alright, so now we got some information on everything you need to know about this RTX 4060. Now you know how much it is on games and everything else, as it shows here. But do remember the system they ran this on for these game performance. They did an i9 12900K, 32 gigs of RAM with Windows 11 x64-bit. So that's the parameters they ran off of. Don't know what motherboard they use. So that right there doesn't tell me, too much. It tells me the processor, it tells me the RAM, and it tells me the operating system. But it does not say the one key part of this whole mess. The one key part I wish they would start talking about is the motherboard. What kind of motherboard did you use? Because remember, information flows back and forth through that motherboard. So if you don't have a good enough motherboard to get that information to flow, then you're just wasting your time. Trust me, you will be wasting your time if you're going to use a 12900K and you don't have a decent motherboard with decent VRMs and everything else. Do remember, you're going to need high power VRMs. Not high power, but somewhat give it, at least a 12 stage VRM. At least a 12 stage, a 12 plus 2, or a 12 plus 4. something in that realm to give give your graphics card a little bit of advantage, especially when it's pulling power from the PCIe slot. And don't forget your drink too. Make sure you have that in your hand and your snacks. So, with the 4070 I have here, the Nvidia RTX 4070, it pulls a lot through the PCIe slot in power. And it also pulls a lot off of the 8-pin. Okay, because every one connection for the 8-pin that goes on these cards, it should only be 150 watts max. But the RTX 4070 is pulling close to almost 200 watts max. Or, no, let me rephrase. Yeah, it's pulling almost close to 200 watts max. But also, too, it's pulling, well, no, I mean, yeah, pretty much. But when it comes to the motherboard, it pulls some power off of that. I ain't never seen it pull 150 watts off the motherboard or 200 watts off the motherboard. I ain't never seen that before. I'm used to seeing like 75 watts coming off of the motherboard to go in there for the PCIe slot for your graphics card for the one end, and then you got the other end kind of finalizing things up with 150 watts, So you got totally equivalents of, 225, 250 watts. Now with the RTX 4070, it's pulling between 300 and 400 watts all the way around. Now, you can quote me on that and you can tell me different, but I'm still going to show you the same test with it pulling almost close to 200 watts off of the PCIe slots and the motherboard. And also, it's pulling that close off the 8-pin connector. So, with them telling you it's a 200 watt card, that's crap. Try 400 watt card. If it's done right, you can tone it down a little bit and have 150 being pulling off of the 8-pin and 100 pulling off of the motherboard. And everybody says, "Oh no, you don't pull no power off the motherboard." Well, how are you going to feed your card? You got to feed one side and you got to feed the other side. You got one big GPU you got to feed. You got to feed it from the motherboard side, and you got to feed it from direct feed from the PSU. So I can tell you this, ain't like you thinking it is. Okay, you're still going to be pulling the power. So if you don't have the correct motherboard to do this, I would suggest wait until you do your research on what kind of motherboard you're going to be using with this graphics card. And that's just a warning to let you know watch because of the watts. Okay, I'm lucky I got this one here, the Asus Dual, the RTX 4070. But it's got an 8-pin connector. It doesn't have that one that catches fire. I'm happy with that. I'm more than happy with that. So, hands down, cards did everything I wanted to do, and it gives out more than what I expect. It goes right to the highest amount of frequency when it comes to gigahertz. It's already hit. I already had that thing hitting 3 gigahertz many a times now, and I don't have to do much. It just hits itself. I play the games and it hits right up at 3 gigahertz, depending on what game it plays or what kind of bench test you do to get it up to 3 gigahertz. But it will go there, even though people will tell you, "Oh no, it only goes up to 2.718 whatever." Okay, well, keep believing that. You keep believing that and call me Santa. How about that? So, coming down to it all, this was just a little video to give my subscribers and the new viewers a heads up of what's coming up for $300. And I know you're gonna fight me on the fact of paying $300 for this card, and I don't blame you. I would too. I would fight me on that too for $300. You think that card's really worth $300? Or is it dead on arrival or what? Leave a comment below. Let me know if you think this card's not going to make it or it is going to make it. But something tells me with the older generation, everybody's wanting to hold on to the older generation. They want to see what's the next best big thing. Okay. Well, truthfully, I don't think, and to be honest with you, I don't think, and I'm gonna go to, a little, or what was it? Let's go to the specs. Okay, looking at it right here, I don't think 3,072 CUDA cores is going to be kind of enough for what you want to do. And do remember, this is an 8 GB card. So it could either sell or it could sit on the shelf like the rest of the cards. Okay, in my opinion, I think it's going to be a shelfer for quite a while until the price comes down to where it's affordable. Okay, now let's do this. Now that you all seen that, let's go to what was it? 3060. Now, okay, so we do an RTX 3060. Do it as a comparison. So we'll do an RTX 3060 as a comparison. And we'll say that the 3060 has 12 gigabytes of VRAM. We'll say that. Okay, so now we'll do a side-by-side comparison, and we'll hit the home button, and we'll do the RTX, let's see, not 45, 4060 specs. We'll do that. We'll kind of reverse this up a little bit. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to pull it out, and we're going to do a side-by-side comparison between the two. So this way you all can see what you think about the 4060. Okay, so okay, now we're going to look at a comparison between the 3060 12 gigabyte and the 4060. Now the 3060 12 gigabyte is not that much more in price. Okay, so if you were to look up on Amazon, my spelling gets better each day. So y'all can criticize me on that. So what we're doing is we're going to be looking for the RTX. Was it the RTX? Yeah, it's RTX 3060 12 gigabyte variant. Okay, so I want you to look at that price right there. Right now on Amazon, it's the Asus Dual GeForce 3060 right here. It's going for $299. This card here, the 4060, is going for $300. Okay, I want you to think about that. So, I mean, even the 3060 right here, $289. 3060, $279. $289. You can still get it 277, 25%, save 25%. 289. You got some that are in the 300s. So now you know you can get one for 277. You can get one here for 277 of 3060 12 gigabytes. You know, if you want, like Asus, they got an Asus right here, an overclock version, 12 gigabytes for $299. Now this might put a little bit of a hurting. This might put a little bit of a hurting on this 4060. Now I'm doing all this comparison all at one time. Okay, so now the difference between the two, the 3060 12 gigabytes got 3,584 core. Now the 4060 has 3,072. Now the TMUs on the 3060 are 112. TMUs up on the 4060 are 96. Now the ROPs are 48 on the 3060, and on the 4060 is 32. 128-bit bus, 3060, 192-bit bus. Okay. Now, let's roll down and see what else we can find. Okay, so the 4060 is right there at 100%. Now let's see where the 3060 sits. There's the 3070. So now we're looking for the 3060 Ti. Let's say it sits right in between the 3060 Ti and the 3060. Let's go backwards just in case they decided to put it on the wrong side of the field. Okay, so they didn't put the 3060 on here. Okay, so the 4060 is here. Let's see, you got the 2070. And then you still got the 6650 that's going to be above the 4060 by 6 or 7%. Let's see, relative right here, the 12 gigabytes in between the 5700 XT and the 2070. So between the 2070 and the 5700 XT. So that's where you gotta look. So you got the 2070. That's the 2060. That's the 5700. That's the 5600. So they're telling us that the 3060 12 gigabyte is 4% less than the 4060. Wow. There you have it. There's the word for the bird. But this is relative power. This is just relative performance, period. This is not actual performance. Now, in gameplay, you could get a better deal with the 3060 because for the simple fact it's got 12 gigabytes, it's got a 192-bit bus, and also too, depending on what motherboard you want to use with the 3060 12 gigabyte, that's going to determine what kind of raw power you got coming out of there. So let's say you got a motherboard like me. Let's say you just decide to go AMD and you get yourself a B550A Asus motherboard. It's the B550A. And let's say you get that and you want to rock along with that. And you put, let's say you put a 5800X3D in this motherboard. 5800X3D. So you try that, you get it all set up, and you got the 3060 in there. But guess what happens? The 5800X3D starts bottlenecking the 3060. That's something you got to think about too. But in my mind, what I think, if you put the 3060 in with the 5800X3D and the Asus Strix motherboard B550-A, I don't think you have much of a problem at all. Especially if you ran the memory up, the motherboard memory, the motherboard RAM, if you ran that up, let's say to 4,000 plus on the frequency, and you ran the infinity cache, the infinity cache for the memory, you ran that up to 2,000 megahertz. So you put 4,000 on the RAM, the total overclocks. You put half of that on the infinity cache. So you got 4,000 on one end, you got 2,000 on the other end. And guess what? Put it all together, see if you rock or not. These motherboards here are supposed to go up to 44 or 40. They're supposed to be able to go over the clock, 4,400, 4,600, lock, stock, and barrel. If you can get it up to 4,600, you can get the RAM. You get, your RAM, and you buy it at plus 4,600. It might work. Okay, depending on how much the processor is going to allow you to clock up to that amount. How much you can put on that processor to get it to clock up to that next level, that's going to be on the processor. So if the processor can handle, let's say 4,400 megahertz, then throw all that together, and if it, long as it runs 100%, like on Cinebench, you run it with Cinebench to test it to see if it's going to hold up. There you go. There you go. That's what you talk about. And if you can get 4,400 out of it, you got a good deal. 64 gigs of RAM, 4,400. If they make it, if they don't, then, I don't know what to tell you. But in my impression, if the AMD Ryzen chip, the processor, should go up to that amount. Problem is, the way AMD's doing it, they're cutting the max off at 3,200. And if you go over that clock, then that voids your warranty. And that's with AMD. Once you go up past 3,200 megahertz, that's going to void off your warranty because it's going to be considered overclocking. And that's what I heard. Don't quote me on it, but that's what I heard. So, even though that you don't think you're overclocking by using the DOCP, overclocking your RAM, they consider it overclocking. So, but me, on the other hand, I didn't overclock mine. I set the target at 3,200 megahertz, and I set the infinity right at 1,600 megahertz. That's how mine's set up. So it's set up point blank, and when it comes to all the numbers, you can want to put them in manually. That's up to you. I just set those on auto. Just set it right on auto. And that's the way it runs. I mean, the frequency for the processor is set on auto. The only thing that's not set on auto would be the custom curve I did for the processor. So that way it would be in the negative, a negative 20 on all cores. So it would lower the power, but keep the performance up at the top. It works out very well for me. I don't have a problem with it. The processor goes all the way up to 4650, like it says Nvidia or AMD says. Not a problem. Not a problem. So, if you're wondering, in my opinion, about the two processors, okay, now the thing is this, and do remember this: the RTX 3060 12 GB has a PCIe 4.0 x16. Do remember that. And now the new one, the 4060, only has PCIe 4.0 x8 right here. X8. So its launch price, compared the launch price to the two, the 3060 12 GB launched at $329 USD. And what's going to happen is the 4060 on the 29th is going to launch at 300. All depending. All depending. But from what I can see right here, and it tells me everything I need to know, I think in the long run, it's going to be a toss up between the two. I mean, yeah, one's got 8 GB and the other one's got 12 GB, but in truth and reality, on the 3060, if the card's being choked down at a certain frequencies or whatever, I don't foresee you using 12 GB off of the 3060. I really don't. I don't even foresee you going over 10 GB on the 3060, truthfully. Now, if the 4060 RTX 4060 was equipped with 16 GB, I still don't see you going through that much neither. I really don't. So, but now understand this: the 4060, it's only going to have 24 megs of L2 cache. Now, I don't see them putting any L3 cache on it. If that's what y'all are wondering, I don't see any L3 cache. Now, I mean, if you go by your FP64 double, the 4060 has 236.2 G flops, 1 to 64, and over on the other side at 3060 has 199 G flops, 1 to 64. Okay, so there's a little bit of a boost, just a little bit up on the 4060. Okay, now there's not much difference on any of the other ones. You know, there's not really that much difference at all. Just it's always very minuscule numbers. Okay, so I think hands down that, you know, it comes down to it, depending all on the price. And if y'all get the 3060 12 GB for half of what you would pay for the RTX 4060, and you get it for half, I think everybody's going to be running right to the 3060 12 GB. I really do. I think y'all are going to be running to it. I mean, you're not going to walk to it, you're going to run to it. Everybody's going to be looking for it, brand new, used, whatever the case is. Everybody's going to be looking for this. They are going to be looking for this. And you know, the base clock, there's like a 500 megahertz different on the base. Yep, pretty much the same on the boost. And the memory clock, a little bit of a variance, not much. But it seems like what they did is they tried to balance one to the other. They're only giving you scraps on the new one, but they're giving you the full product on the old ones. So that's something to think about too. I know right now you're probably saying to yourself, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. And you are right. You got to be kidding me. This card right here, the 4060, you know, it's got all the new features. I'm not gonna get. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm not gonna tell you my thoughts on this just yet. Just yet. And I have a reason for that. And I have a big old reason. Y'all need to stick around to hear that for that reason. I mean, serious reason. Okay. Let, let's go back to the main screen, and I did it again. I know. I keep doing that over and over every time I do my videos. I have a button I was supposed to press before I go into the action screen. We'll get into that in another video. This video we're into head on heels. We are into head on heels with the 4060, which is going to be coming out 29th of June, which is right around the corner, and it's not that many days. Now, on the 28th, there's going to be reviews. Reviewers are going to be reviewing them, so they got to follow the embargoes. So I'm not going to elaborate too much on what they got to follow. But from what I know I got to follow right now, I'm just breaking the news and the information to you. So this is breaking the news and information, letting you know where this card's standing, when it's going to release, and, get your thoughts to see if you think that it's worth buying or not. And you know how many people ask me that question? They ask me the question, are you going to buy it? And I got quite a few emails asking me that question. And then I'm going to say this again. They said to me, hey Jay, are you going to buy the 4060? And I told them, did you see me buy the 4060 Ti? No. Did you see me buy the 4090? No. Did you see me buy the 4080? No. The 4070 Ti? No. You see me buy the RTX 4070? And I'm still on that card. It's still in my computer. It's still rocking. So I'm not complaining whatsoever. I have no complaints about the RTX 4070. Everybody can tell you the gameplay up to the moon and back and everything else. It's not set up to how their stuff is set up. It's how the consumer has their computer set up for this graphics card. Not looking at hundreds of reviews, how they got their setup and everything else. It's how you have your set up at the time. I don't knock other reviewers, and don't get me wrong, I will not knock them. I'm not going to use their stuff. Okay? That's them. This is me. I don't have, they want to collab. I'll be more than happy to collab with them. I don't have a problem with it. That's being an adult to the kind of situations. Other than running around being a kid kind of making accusations. You don't go around making accusations, because I know this and I know that. You know what? You ain't Jesus. You don't know everything. So, I don't even know everything. When it comes to computers, I'm going to admit it. I don't know everything. It's a learning curve. Every day, you learn every day something new. So you're learning as you go along in this field. You don't know everything when it comes to building a PC. No one knows everything. No one. You learn to get to that point. You scratch to get to that point. You claw to get to that point. But nobody has infinity answers when it comes to knowing everything about a PC. No one has that answer. Not even the builders don't have that answer. So if that doesn't make sense to you, you're like, whoa, well, how come they say this and they say that? Well, that's because you're listening to their words. Okay, it's just like me telling you my words that I'm telling you. And it comes straight from the horse's mouth. And you know what? I have the product in my hand, so I can talk about this product anytime because I have it in my hand. I can tell you what my card does. Okay? But we're not talking about my card right now. We're talking about the 4060, which is coming out the 29th, which is going to be tested on the 28th. Okay? Now, if by some grace of God, I'm able to either come up with the money to get the card, or if they, these companies say, hey, would you like to collab and, try this out and test it out and tell me what you think? That's a different story. That's something I have to work for. Okay? And as I'm working for it, I'm trying to show you all what time it is from A to Z. Okay? Now, when it comes to, for this 4060, I'm not just going to count it out just yet. 4060 Ti, I felt, it needed a little bit of work. Just a little bit. The pricing needed a little bit of work. The functionality of it needed a little bit of work. I'm just saying. Okay. Performance-wise, it can get you where you need to be. Now, the 4060 is a new card coming out, so there's nobody that can tell you anything about this card. They can say, oh, well, I see bench leaks here, bench leaks there, blah, whatever. I don't care if you see all the benchmarks before the release, which you don't. And the only way that gives you a little bit of better marking to tell you what is actually going on with it, you need to use your ears and keep them to the ground and start listening to what the floor has to say. That means everybody in the community. Everybody, reviewers or whatever, you got to keep your ear to the ground. Listen to what everybody else is talking about. What's the good points, the bad points, and everything else. I take all that into consideration. All that into consideration before I see my final verdict. Okay? If it's going to be a bad card, we'll see it. If it's going to be a great card, we'll see it. We haven't seen that much on the 4060 Ti, except for a little bit from this channel here, this channel here, this channel here, and this channel here. Any of the lower reviewers, I haven't seen anything yet. And that all has to do with YouTube's algorithm, which it stinks. Their algorithm stinks because they don't want to put out my videos. Because they don't think it makes sense. But I'll tell you what. Every time I put out my videos and then this happens to where it turns this way and I've told you on my video it turned that way, guess what happens? I was right. The whole time. So that's why I tell you watch the videos from beginning to end. So you see what's going on. Okay, I gave you a little bit of a glimpse on the 4060 8GB card. As far as if it's going to make it in this world, who knows? It probably could turn out like the RTX 4070, where they said, well, it wasn't selling. And you know what? For $600, they should sell that card, regardless of what anybody says. And then, later on down the road, cut 100 off of it. Bring the price down a little bit. But as far as in the long run, it paying for itself, it's going to pay for itself. And that's the way I look at it. Okay? I'm going to show you guys something. And I want you to understand what I'm about to show you. Okay? Come to your calculator. Your calculator is your best friend. Okay? How long are you going to keep the card? Which I decided I'm going to keep this one for 5 years. So you take 365 days and you times that by 5 years. Gives you the amount of days. Okay? That's what you need to know. For 5 years, that's how much you need to know. Okay? So now you take this and divide that $600 price, and it says $3.04, which that's incorrect. I want you to understand why it's incorrect. Okay? So we're gonna take it a different way. We're gonna take the $600 and we're gonna divide that into 1,825. Now, this is the correct way of doing it. Okay. 33 cents a day. 33 cents a day on an average. On an average of 33 cents a day. And yes, I did that backwards for a reason. So this way you can see I make mistakes just like the next guy. So don't judge me. That's all I'm going to tell you. Don't judge me. Okay? I did that for a reason. Because even if I make mistakes or whatever the case is, I make mistakes. I'm human. That's what makes me human. I learn from my mistakes. Okay? When it comes to you thinking that I made a mistake buying the RTX 4070, no, that's not a mistake. That is not a mistake at all. And I'm just going to tell you that. Because later on down the road, with all the upgrades and benefits and everything else that's going to be thrown at this card for the future, is going to be more cost effective than it is to pay for a $1,000, $1,600 card that you get the same benefits for. Does that make sense? So I'd rather spend $600 than $1,600 and still get the same benefits. That's the whole point. You're getting the same benefits from the top to the bottom, high and low. So you're getting the same benefit. Don't matter which way in the spectrum that you go, you're still going to get the same benefits. All I paid for was the raw horsepower that it can do without the ray tracing, without the DLSS 3, and everything else, which I have not ran yet on this card because I run 1080p. And you don't get most of those extra features running 1080p. So I go by what I can get, whatever it hands out to me. And so far, it's handed out pretty good. And I'm just going to say that. But we're going to leave it right there at that because we're almost at the 1 hour mark. If you're looking for the 4060, wait for the rollout, wait for the testing and everything else before you make your decision. Don't be hasty and just go out there and just buy it. Don't be hasty like that. Review it, take your time, you breathe, everything will be okay. So if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. What I mean by 4,000 watch hours, watch the video from beginning to end. Would be appreciated. That means not just one, all the videos, if you can. And that way we can go to monetization. And all the new subscribers that did subscribe, welcome to the family. Welcome to JJ's PC Builds. And the veteran subscribers, thank you once again for all the love and support you've shown us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We do appreciate everything you do for us here on the channel. That's what gives us the drive of continuing making content every day, with you guys interacting with me in on the videos, in the chats on the videos and stuff like that, or in the community, the subscribers community page, the interaction when you guys interact with the text polls and stuff like that is all appreciated. That's the reason why I do these things, is I want you all to be involved. I want you to be a part of the family. I want you all to be here with us so we can continue this journey together, rocking right along, side by side, and seeing what's going to happen at all the way down to the end of the road. So, but as long as we keep rocking the right way, there's never going to be there will be some point an end to the road, but then we'll step up into a new section, and then we'll move on. That's called goals and procedures, and that's about what we're working on right now. But anyway, I just wanted to make this video real quick because I got to get launched out of here. It's going to be the next day soon. So I hope you all understand, and I do apologize not having it up on Thursday. I had a lot going on, doctors and everything else, just to let you know. What happened on Thursday? Or was it? No, Wednesday. Sorry. Thursday is a different story, but anyway. We're going to try to launch this video out to you guys so that way you can have it for Thursday. And we're going to try to see what we can do for Friday. Nothing guaranteed, because I got an appointment that's going to be like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I don't know if I'm going to be back on time to get the video out to you. So do stick around, because we'll have a video on Saturday, which will be graphics card nightmares right here on JJ's PC Builds. But anyway, until the next time in the next video, this is JJ on JJ's PC Builds. We will see you on the next one.